You're listening to a 58 Ember production.
Star Wars Visions is back with Volume 3 and continues to be one of the most creative and exciting projects out of Lucasfilm since 2021. We're here to break down all of our favorite moments and shorts from this latest release.
Welcome to Sky Talkers. Here are your hosts, Charlotte and Caitlin.
Hello, and welcome to Sky Talkers. I'm your host, Charlotte.
Hey everyone, I'm your other host, Caitlin, and welcome to this week's episode where we are so excited to be covering Star Wars Visions Volume 3.
Woo!
Visions. I love Visions.
Me too. It really is Star Wars' coolest thing ever.
Mm-hmm.
It is so unique. I find it difficult to describe, but it is, like, in a marketing sense, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it is so cool. It is the coolest partnership with these animation studios, most of which I am being introduced to, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
And I just love the non-canon exploration of these different stories and what it says about Star Wars. And I don't know. They're all so different and so cool. I'm really excited to talk about it today.
Yeah, me too. I love it basically for all the same reasons you said. I just think it's so fun. It's so creative. I don't know. Like you said, it's about being introduced to different animation studios. And it's just really cool to see where a story will go, how it develops, like what pieces of Star Wars they bring in as far as like the politics, you know, like we hear like the Empire being used in these different shorts. And it's so interesting to see what pieces they choose from that kind of like big picture setup for these stories that they're developing in these shorts. It's really fun. And it's always really exciting to see like what is going to be included and what the story is going to be. And of course, visually, they're all just stunning. So it's just such a treat.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting that they do 9 every time. 9 is an interesting number because there's 9 episodes in the Skywalker saga. It's an odd number. I don't know. I think it's a good number, but there's certainly a wide breadth of different stories that are being told. And I totally agree with you. I love what they are able to explore. Mm-hmm. And I think it's easy also to settle into these different interpretations of the universe as well. I think when this was first launched, I was a little not concerned, but like trepidatious, I guess, around what the general public would think about the shorts themselves not being canon and how they would react to those. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that I've been so happy that the fandom has been so accepting and wonderful and has their favorites and has created like little fandoms after some of these shorts too. And some of those now have follow-ups in this entry in this volume, which is really cool. Should we read the press release?
Yeah. Let's read the press release.
Okay, great. So we got this press release. I think it would be fun to read it because it does a really good job of summarizing it. So why don't you read the first paragraph and I'll read the second.
Okay, a little popcorn. Okay. Mm-hmm. Star Wars Visions will return to Disney Plus for a third installment on October 29th, 2025. The award-winning anthology of animated short films celebrates the mythology of Star Wars through unique cultural lenses. Star Wars Visions Volume 3 features 9 shorts from 9 different anime studios: David Production, Kamikaze Douga Anima, Kinema Citrus Company, Polygon Pictures, Production IG, Project Studio Q, Trigger, WIT Studio, to further demonstrate the diversity and creativity of Japanese animation.
Volume 1 of Star Wars Visions, which premiered in 2021, received an Emmy nomination for the short The Duel. The Emmy, Lumiere, and Annie Award-winning second volume was released in 2023 and featured shorts by global animation studios, including Aardman, Cartoon Saloon, Triggerfish, and Punk Robot. With Volume 3, the animated anthology returns to where it all began, with 9 shorts from the 9 different anime studios to further demonstrate the diversity and creativity of Japanese animation.
And there you have it.
There you have it.
There you have it. Yep, there you have it.
I am happy to return to Japanese animation with this. I think I really loved, I just want to emphasize that, the international focus of Volume 2. I thought that was so interesting and cool. And I hope that we do that again. But I am happy to have a Japanese anime focus with this one as well.
Yeah, I think it was nice to kind of return back to the more anime like style overall for the entire volume. It definitely, I think, really highlights the differences between like going from volume 2 to volume 3. It's kind of, I don't know, you go back to, like I said, kind of all of the shorts have that anime style, whereas volume 2 is just, it's so varied in a lot, because of all the different animation styles. So like you said, I really hope that we go back and do like the international group again for at least one more volume of Visions, but we'll talk about that later. But it was really nice to come back, especially to the Japanese animation studios, especially because we have follow-ups to some of the shorts that were introduced in volume 1, which that is super exciting.
Also, maybe I was just less attuned to it in volume 1, but I really felt like volume 3 layered in a lot of Japanese cultural isms into them in a more heightened way than volume 1. Do you not feel that way?
I don't think so. I will say it's been a while since I've watched volume 1 in totality, but maybe it's because we also went to Japan earlier this year.
I know.
It feels like more obvious.
Yeah. I guess, so I'll talk about this later, but I did go to the Japan Society here in New York City for the premiere of the Duel Payback, and they had a Q&A that was filmed with the director, which was really cool, and learned a lot of things. And my comment actually comes from the fact that he says in this one he wants to drive home more of the Japanese cultural heritage. And I think especially in the Duel Payback, you can really feel that. I think the locations are really specific with that. And like it's on a temple grounds type situation. But so maybe that, since that starts off the entire volume, I was looking for that essence in every single one following.
You really had it in front of your mind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive in. So in part 1, we're going to be talking about the visuals of Star Wars Visions Volume 3.
In part 2, we'll talk about themes and relationships.
And in part 3, we're going to be talking about breadth of play. So without further ado, let's get started.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
All right, welcome to part 1, where we're talking all about the visuals of the visuals of Visions Volume 3. Okay, so to start us off, what was your favorite short visually? Not the story, but how it looks.
Okay. My favorite is, of course, Black for this. I think that I was so overwhelmed with how beautifully this was hand-drawn, done, animated. It's a tone poem. It's unreal. This feels like cheating to answer this way because I think that visually Black is the most striking on the entire volume. And I think I wouldn't necessarily feel that way because I do think that the Duel has this extremely unique animation style that there's a reason why they start with that one, right? But we've seen this already before, this type of animation style in volume 1, which doesn't make it any less cool. In fact, I think they really heightened it for the sequel. But Black to me is a feat of animation. And I'm really happy that we get to talk about it in the first 10 minutes of our podcast because it is so electric. The thing that is also crazy is, so Caitlin and I got screeners for Visions Volume 3. And we've talked about this before, but the experience of watching something without the preparation of what people have hyped something up for, I had no idea what I was even going into when I clicked on this. I truly was so astounded and overwhelmed. I got chills. Like, I don't know. This entire thing was so intense. So visually, I think Black is outstanding. But I also feel like I really liked the use of some, I don't really know the right term for this, but there seems to be some CGI like elements folded into a lot of the shorts in like the short films in Visions Volume 3. And I liked that, especially in the space battles. I thought that was really cool and striking. And I also really felt like I really liked the exploration of the kawaii type visuals in Song of Four Wings and Yuko's Treasure. I feel like we didn't fully explore that. I think we kind of did with Toby in Volume 1.
Yeah.
But this feels way more in this one with the microwave bear and Woopas. Woopa is so cute and does not really fulfill a Star Wars cute creature look to me. It was so distinctly Japanese kawaii, you know?
Yeah.
And he's so cute. But also even the Ewoks in the Duel are cuter. They're the cutest version of an Ewok I've ever seen.
So cute.
Yes. So I really liked that visually folding that in, and I thought it worked so well. What about you?
I've got to say Black too.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, it's so striking. It probably is the most striking short, I would say, out of all 3 volumes. And it makes sense why they would put it at the end to kind of cap off. Like, I think Black is the epitome of what Visions can be. We're not going to have any dialogue. It's going to be music and animation, and that's going to tell this insane, striking story of these stormtroopers. And it worked so well. I thought it was so creative, and I think just really opens the door for what another volume of Visions could do, like even more exploratory with the storytelling that they're doing from animation, that, you know, it doesn't even have to be a story in the traditional sense with a beginning, middle, and end.
Right.
You know, I just think it really, it's so new and fresh, and I loved it, of course. But you're right, it kind of does feel like cheating because it just is so different than everything else that is within all the volumes of Vision. But I gotta say, I really loved Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope, the continuation of Ninth Jedi from volume 1. I thought the set pieces of this short, the castle where Master and the droid Tito are, the eerie environment that was created in that short, I was obsessed with. I thought it had like this wonderful grandeur to it, and like the decay that was also happening in there. I just thought it set such a great tone, and I really loved exploring that world in the Ninth Jedi.
I agree.
Short. Yeah, I love that one.
There was such a clear sense of place for that.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really understood, like, this statue is blocking something. This statue, I don't know. I really felt that. I totally agree with you.
Yeah. Bird of Paradise, I loved so much. I remember when we saw the preview for Bird of Paradise at Star Wars Celebration in Japan earlier this year, and that one was one that really stood out to both of us on just some of the like concept art and some of the like shots that they showed from this short. I loved it. We'll talk about Bird of Paradise more, but the like back and forth between like the Force world and the living world, it was just so clear visually the differences between them, and was really good at conveying our characters' like journey through both of those worlds. And I loved it. I loved the structure of that short. Again, that's not really visuals, but I just thought that one was stunning. And to kind of model it, or, you know, call it the Bird of Paradise with the flower, I thought was also just such a great visual representation. And I was really obsessed with that one. That's one I know I'm going to be revisiting. And similar to you, the kawaii vibes, like I loved the party setup in Yuko's treasure, like in the house, and the little candy corn shaped droid. I was so obsessed with him. I thought he was so cute. And of course, Billy, our microwave bear. I mean,
I know. And
like they had like little party streamers up. I had wrote in my notes, I was like, I would have been happy if this was just fully a party short. Like we just got to go to the birthday party for Yuko that Billy threw and see all the little snacks and stuff that Billy made. I thought that would have been really fun too. But there was something just super cute about that one. And Yuko, the kid, is really cute as well. And then like you, the Ewoks in the Duel Payback are just, I mean,
sweetest.
Perfect.
Yeah, they're so great. In the talk that I went to at the Japan Society, they did call them the Seawalks. I know that that's going around online as like a potential thing, but the director literally called them the Seawalks.
It's already a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's already a thing. Back to the Ninth Jedi, you kind of picked up on this with Yuko's treasure as like a party scene. What I really loved in the Ninth Jedi was the food that Tato prepared for Kara. I loved that like stew that he made. And I was like, yes, we're getting a key element of anime, which is food.
how good
and
the food looked.
how good the food looks, and it worked.
Yeah,
I was kind of surprised we didn't get any noodles in
Mhm.
any of the volumes, gonna be honest. But yeah, I loved that.
We should have had noodles.
I know.
Yeah. I really loved in the Lost Ones, the final duel between F and her former master. The whole, like, she enters into that room on the Starfighter and it's like a field of poppies.
Yeah,
And
it's so cool.
it looks so, but then you realize that she's still in the Starfighter. It's just been changed. I thought it was so cool. And the visual of her at the end, just lying in the field of poppies when the ship is coming down, before, what is his name? Ron, I think, the guy, before he comes and like gets her out. I just thought I was stunning, honestly. It was
Stunning.
Yeah. And it really, I know it's like all anime, but the anime I'm most familiar with is Sailor Moon, and like with the flowers and like the
Yeah.
white everywhere. It was really giving
right.
me Sailor Moon vibes, and I really enjoyed that personally.
Yeah, it's so true. One thing I really thought was so fun also is in the Song of Four Wings, the ending with the droid going into, I don't know, guard mode. I can't remember what they say specifically, but it really leans into Gundam Wing and
Yeah.
that visuals of, building like a rocket body around an armor body around that. And I was like, this is so distinctly Japanese anime too. I was really happy that they leaned into that. The studio that did Song of Four Wings is, I believe, slightly newer. And I went back and I think that they have a Gundam credit, but it's
Oh.
not the specific Gundam Wing. Because I was like, oh, this would make sense if they really want to lean into that. But I think that shows my blind spot of not really understanding the history of these animation houses. So just an FYI. But I do think that they've worked on some things like that before.
Yeah, that would make sense. And it looked really cool when that happened. I was like, oh my God, look at her go, her and her droid.
I know, it's so great. I love the droid that plays music. I also love the music. I know we're in the visual section, but I loved
the music in that one was really
good.
fun. And again, it's like to go from the Duel into Song of the Four. I keep wanting to say Song of the Four Winds, but it's Song of the Four Wings.
It's just Four Wings, not the even.
Yeah. And so I keep messing it up in totality. But the second short, the juxtaposition between those two is just, it's so, again, this is just like what's so great about Visions. It's so fun and jarring, but, parentheses positive, to go from this like totally black and white, like very kind of serious short into this one that, our princess has got her cassette tape and the colors are really vibrant in this one. And, she's having a good time, even in the midst of this like hard mission that she's undergoing. She still is able to see the positive side of it. And the music really helps kind of set that mindset for our characters, I think.
For sure.
Isn't Tatooine Rhapsody the second episode in volume 1 that would have gone from the Duel into Tatooine Rhapsody?
Maybe third.
So, it's early on, but I was just thinking that too is kind of similar because Tatooine Rhapsody has a big emphasis on the music and is tonally very different from the Duel as well. So, thinking about the order of things.
Yeah, put a pin in that because that's definitely breadth of play.
Yeah, exactly.
In the Duel Payback, I thought it was so creative to have a battle on top of the feet of the AT-ATs.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I loved that. The way that it was, you can move the feet around. It was so cool. The way that is all staged. I loved the way that the AT-ATs AT-ATs also became like a traveling casino with, again, distinctly Japanese elements with like tatami mats and things like that. It was so cool. I loved that. And then just the environments in that one are just so breathtaking.
The Bacta hot springs.
Yes.
I was like, why have we not seen this
never
anywhere
seen
else
that
in
before.
Star Wars? This is so, and I love the idea that Bacta could actually be a natural thing.
Resource?
Yeah, natural resource. I was like, that's such a cool concept and could play really well into like resource mining and things in some, future Star Wars story.
For
which
sure.
they're doing.
Speaking of mining, they're in the Village Bride follow-up. What's that one called? Lost Ones. In the Lost Ones, they talk about coaxium and mining coaxium, right?
I think that one is in, hold on.
Bounty Hunters, right?
Yeah, it's in Song of Four Winds.
Okay, it's in song performance. Got it.
There is mining though in the Lost Ones, but it's carbonite. It's
Oh,
carbonite
right.
dust.
Which I thought that was also so cool. How could I
Yeah.
forget about that? That was so cool.
Yeah.
I loved that. But mining comes up in this as a through line, which is an interesting reflection because I think that there's an underlying through line that we've been tracking on the podcast in other Star Wars stories too, that the destroying of the environment. I think that's very reflecting of Japanese cultural sensibility in a lot of ways to tap into that, because balance of the elements is so important in Japanese culture. So of course that would be something that they would pick up on and put it into their art. So that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, on the topic of visuals, when we were talking about the carbonite, the visual of the carbonite over that planet at the beginning of the Lost Ones with
so cool.
the music, which is kind of a little bit more upbeat than what is happening, that too it looked gorgeous and like eerie and scary, but also like beautiful in a weird way. So I don't know, that you definitely kind of end up with images of like Pompeii and that kind of vibe, because oh my gosh, it was so sad when I can't remember his name, the like first guy in that short who he's like, I just want to be with my family. And you see that his family is there, but has been frozen in the carbonite dust, cloud, storm, whatever you want to call it. Just really, visually striking.
Yeah, I agree with you that it could reflect Pompeii, and I think that's where my brain goes first too. But I wonder if this is also a reflection of Hiroshima, Nagasaki type situation too.
Yeah, definitely. I think all of those things are probably, in the conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we want to say about the visuals?
I think we're going to continue talking about visuals throughout, but I think it's always fun to kind of, I don't know, we always usually dive into like characters and stuff first, but with visions, it's nice to kind of focus on what like stood out to us visually, like what we liked looking at and stuff, because that's not usually where our discussions begin.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think that to me, the stuff that, I don't know, I think about the shorts from the previous volumes that stick out to me so much. And usually it's visual first. I don't know if that's true for you, but for me it is.
No, I think it is for me too. Like even thinking in like volume 2, Awa's song is one I think is both of our favorites.
Exactly what I was thinking about when I said that.
Yeah, and it's just the colors, the animation, it really sticks in your brain.
Totally. Like the story I think is great, and I remember having really strong feelings towards loving the story, but the visuals are so clear. They felt type look. It was just fantastic. So anyway, I agree with you. It's good to start here. Okay, let's move on to part 2. Okay, welcome to part 2 where we're talking about themes and relationships. So we've outlined some themes that I think are repetitious throughout all of these shorts. Also, I keep saying shorts. These are not that short compared to the other ones. These, when I saw the length of them, I was like, oh, usually I could have sworn these are around 12 minutes, but this is a full 30-minute episode on television, right? Like we're clocking in at
they're all like
22 minutes. Yeah.
Minutes.
Yeah. And I was obviously thrilled for that. But anyway, these short films, I guess. So what do these themes say about what's core to Star Wars? I think it's always really interesting to consider that the assignment for these studios is to remix Star Wars themes and put their own spin on a new Star Wars story. We're not seeing characters that we are familiar with outside of the Visions world, right? And I think it's always fascinating to see what the international zeitgeist taps into when it comes to Star Wars. And in previous discussions of Star Wars Visions, we have talked about what could potentially have been in the pitching brief from Lucasfilm to these studios around, did they list in terms of what themes they want them to cover or what? But when we talked to the producers behind this project, most of them say that the guardrails are off.
Yeah.
And I think that's so creatively very fun. But sometimes I'm like, I know there's more. Okay. I know that in the story discussions, you guys are really bringing up what you should be, like what is distinctly Star Wars, you know?
Well, I think this is what this is part of why Star Wars has endured for so long, because really what we're talking about here is the Star Wars feeling. And
Mhm.
are these animation studios from all over the world within Japan, are they able to convey the Star Wars feeling when not in a quote unquote canon Star Wars story? And that Star Wars feeling is what we're talking about here, of the themes that, feel repetitious but are in a lot of Star Wars stories, the visual components, even some of the music. Obviously, music is like something that gets played around a lot with in all of these volumes of visions. I got to stop saying volumes of vision. But it's if they're able to convey the Star Wars feeling. And I think for me, if I were the producers, and we've been fortunate enough to talk to the producers from the Lucasfilm side a couple of times about all of these shorts and the process of making these stories. But if you watch something and it feels like Star Wars, I think that's checking the box. Like that's the only guardrail they're kind of looking at here. And we know that what the Star Wars feeling can be incredibly ambiguous and subjective, but then it kind of isn't too, because I think like the producers of this, for example, if they were to watch something, they would kind of all feel if it didn't feel like Star Wars. I think that's just innate, and that's how strong the identity of the franchise is, that I think a lot of us know when something has veered too far out to really be Star Wars. And we had this conversation a lot in Skeleton Crew, because it really leaned really heavily into like the pirate storytelling feeling, and that meshing of Star Wars and pirate in kind of a very big way than we've really been used to, because of course we've had pirates in Star Wars before, but not to the degree that Skeleton Crew did. I thought that was a really interesting conversation we had then. And I think that that's something similar that they're doing in Visions, but that's how strong Star Wars storytelling is, that it can always take center stage, even if you're messing with other elements, like music, as an example, in the Visions. Okay, so why don't we talk about, I think, one of the first themes that is ever prevalent in so many Star Wars stories, and that is the theme of found family. It's one of our favorite themes in Star Wars, and I think resonates with so many people who are fans of Star Wars. I think the big ones that really stand out for this are Yugo's Treasure. I think you had put in our notes the Ninth Jedi with Tito. That's like an instantaneous found family. And then the Smuggler. I think that one. I think Yuko's Treasure and the Smuggler really have the strongest elements of found family. I would say the Lost Ones does too, but kind of in a different way from Yuko's Treasure and the Smuggler.
Yeah, I think Yuko's Treasure is so clearly about found family. I think it's very obviously, oh, your parents died. Now we have this bear droid that takes care of you and helps you through it all. And the bear droid maybe is even more of a family than what you previously didn't even know about. And that's so lovely. And then also the Yuko then accepting Sola, the little boy, into the family. It's like, you're family too. That was so lovely. It made my heart grow like 4 sizes. It was so lovely. So wonderful. I think that one is so clearly found family.
Yeah. And I gotta say, just as an aside, the fact that they call Billy the bear droid in the short just really tickled me. They were like, and take the bear droid.
Doesn't Billy stand for baby, I love you?
Yes, it does. And I put that in our notes to make sure we
had to bring it up.
Included.
Just the cutest thing ever.
But yeah, in the credits, it says Billy, and then in parentheses or something like that, they have baby, I love you. And I'm like, who did this? Who did this to me?
I remember when that image of Billy appeared on screen at the Visions Volume 3 panel in Japan. It was like, wow, nothing will ever be the same.
It was it was the similar reaction to the Loth balls, the baby Loth cats. Billy was kind of at the same level. But okay, here's what I can't remember thinking back to the short. Did we see him use his microwave belly?
No.
If I could critique I would say I'm a little upset we never saw him use his microwave belly.
I know.
So
There was the part also where, the Ravagers were trying to get into the vault, right?
yeah.
And I was so sure that the microwave belly was going to house the key.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I thought for sure he would like pull a cake out of it at the party.
Easy bake oven.
Easy bake bear oven.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm with you, but sometimes like it's just cool,
It
it's
is.
just cool.
What's so funny is if I remember in the panel in Japan at Celebration, they were showing different concept art of Billy, and they were talking about how they had to make sure, you have to think about how he bends over with this big microwave belly and
Yeah.
what is his mobility in it, and it is just so funny and honestly a missed opportunity. I think we're going to need to run that one back and have a little epilogue where they're all at the party and he does bring a cake or a piece of treasure out of the microwave belly.
Amen. I really thought the treasure was going to be in the microwave belly.
I think that would make a lot of sense, or like the code.
But
or
is that
something.
just a red herring?
I guess, but like, why have a droid with a microwave belly if we never see it in use?
Because he's like, well, yeah, it's like Chekhov's gun.
Yeah, and they were like, just wait until we hit start on this microwave belly. Y'all aren't ready.
We need a sequel. Let's go.
But
okay.
he's just still so cute that it kind of doesn't. I'm like, yes, I want to see the microwave.
It doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter. It's just cool.
And they put him in a Vader costume too.
Yeah. Dark Billy.
The dark bear droid.
Yeah. So good. I loved that. That one's 100% found family for sure.
Yes, yeah.
Also, okay, so then Song of Four Wings I thought was interesting because that's also found family in a lot of ways when she takes in Whoopas and has this flashback about her family dying. She's a princess, but she says it doesn't even matter because her homeland is gone, right? And obviously that's a very remixed version of Princess Leia.
Yeah.
In the subbed version, I'm not sure about the dubbed version, but in the subbed version, her name is Crane, which I thought was interesting because then Whoopas gives her a paper crane. Yeah. And I looked it up, and cranes are the representation of longevity and like steadfastness. And so it makes their quote around, there's a reason we're still around. I'm still around. You're still around. And that's their sort of like rallying call to fight the AT-ATs.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just kind of all goes back to that crane symbolism in a lot of ways. But them being together, of course, they're each other's family now.
Yeah, it's very faded, I guess. And,
yes.
And in the dubbed version, it's Crane as well.
Okay, good.
It's very faded that her name being Crane, and then she would find the Whoopas, who is making all these little cranes, like a trail of breadcrumbs almost.
Yeah, I loved that.
Yeah.
So meant to be.
Yeah. And I think that too is just what I think we see a lot in particularly the Japanese shorts within Visions of the tactile with the mechanical, like something like an origami crane that's very, made out of paper and natural in a lot of ways, versus the, obviously all of the technology and mechanical.
The eventual Gundam wing mech suit.
Yeah, and that feels very Japanese too, of the juxtaposition of the natural and the mechanical. And that, of course, is a huge theme in Star Wars too. And kind of what we were talking about as well with, the mining and that story beat kind of popping up in a lot, and the destruction of the natural for the progression of society, and in Star Wars, the destruction of the natural for, the Empire, and kind of what you're supposed to be thinking about in regards to, how we treat the earth and what our relationship with is to nature around us. And Japan takes that very seriously.
Speaking about the Song of Four Wings, sort of remixing the concept of like a former princess with Leia to now Crane, right? The Smuggler also remixes the concept of like royal passenger for safe passage from episode 4 in a lot of ways too, with the prince being undercover, needing safe passage. And then by the end of it, those characters all relying on each other. That's another found family. Also, found family in the cockpit of a ship is that's so location specific, but it's so Star Wars, right?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
concept of them all together in this like small space trying to outrun the evil people, you know.
Yeah.
So it brings us back to the original Star Wars.
Yeah, it really does. I really love the smuggler. I thought all of them,
Me too.
it really developed the characters really quickly about who they are and kind of what their morals are as well, especially with the prince, just seeing him immediately step in to save the boys that were being taken. You know,
Yeah.
they were just kind of rounding up all of the boys that were the same age as the prince. I thought that really said so much about him. I loved how this particular short just it gave us a lot of backstory right in the beginning.
Really quickly too.
Yeah, I started taking notes and I was like, do I need all of this? I don't know. I'm like, my notes say royal family, empire, puppet government, big prologue.
Huge prologue. I totally agree with you.
And then it kind of didn't matter, but I liked the visuals of them showing, and obviously the princes and all of his royal regalia, and
Yeah.
then we get to see what he looks like outside of that and how he's almost using that as a disguise. And I don't know. I thought that was very fun. And then of course that one has like our I called her Grandma Jedi, but her name is Glennu. And I loved her character. I loved the
Me
design
too.
of her and her relationship.
So specific too.
Yeah, it is. And I thought that they became a unit really quickly and they established it really well, I thought. And it made sense that Cheetah would want to stay with them at the end when the prince asks her.
You know, it's interesting because I think I just made the connection of the prince to Princess Leia, but when you talked about his royal regalia as a disguise, I thought about Padme and
Yeah.
the Phantom Menace and like her protection.
Yeah.
And how Qui-Gon is an older Jedi helping with that too, and how those sort of parallel each other in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
You could make that parallel.
No, there's something there. There definitely
For
is.
sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was very cute, and I would love to see stories of this group going forward. One of the other big things that I thought I noticed more in this volume versus like volume 1 was a really big emphasis on the droid and human relationship. And I think all of Visions has had this in spades. I think we've seen so many wonderfully creative designs of droids throughout all of these stories, but I don't know, for some reason it really stood out to me in volume 3. I felt like the majority of these shorts had a really strong droid character who had a really strong relationship with their human companion. I mean, like in Ninth Jedi, that one formed real quick and broke my heart into a million pieces between Cara and Tito.
Oh my gosh, I know.
It just, oh boy. Yugo's treasure, obviously, we've already spoke at length about Billy, the bear droid, but his relationship with Yuko is so sweet and so genuine. And then we have bounty hunters with the assassin / med droid that obviously has a really close relationship with Seven, our lead character, and then her droid, whose name I didn't. Oh, Iva 4 is the droid. Sorry. So Seven and Iva droid, they almost have like a love-hate relationship throughout. And that is compounded on the fact that Iva 4 is going back and forth between medical droid to scary assassin droid. But
it's so much.
It's a lot. They have a really close relationship as well. And then in Song of Four Winds, I think the droid, the royal droid that can only play the music for Crane, Princess Crane. I don't know. I just thought that it was really emphasized throughout these stories, and we really got to see a really humane look at the droids. And even in Bounty Hunters with Seven and Iva 4, the owner of the corporation, the mining corporation who has all of these slaves, the way that he talks about the droids is one, he's like, you can tell from the beginning that this guy is slimy and he's actually evil. But the way that he talks about droids, like when he's like, oh, can I get you guys some tea when they come in? He brings tea for 7. And then he also brings like really high quality oil for Iva 4. And he talks about how, necessary the droids are and they would be nowhere without droids. And there's like this real facade of equality that this guy is putting out there about the droid and human relationship, which obviously coming from him, like I said, we know he's an evil villain in this short, but I think that concept of like the equality we really see emphasized throughout all of these shorts, and that is something that I think Star Wars is also really well known for. Obviously, like Anakin and R2D2 and C3PO and BB-8 and Chopper, like they're all treated, I think we say like pets a lot of the time, but it's also elevated in a lot of these stories too. They're part of the team. And I think that all of our droid companions in volume 3 were really strong characters and really made you want to see more of them.
I think that also says something about Japanese sensibilities to the obsession with robots. And I hope it's not too assumptive to say, but I do feel like that is culturally part of something that Japanese culture is into, and also in inventing too, right?
Yeah, the forefront of.
Yeah. So I think that it shouldn't be a surprise that is a theme that comes through a lot here, because I think that is popular in Japan.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just so many extremes to all of these droids too, which that's just part of the creativity of a project like this. But, to go from Billy, baby, I love you, to Iva 4, our spider assassin droid. It's really fun. And all of these droids, I was connected to them immediately, which is usually what happens with our droid characters, but I really loved all of them. And I gotta say, I've already mentioned him, but the candy corn droid from Yugo's Treasure really stood out to me. And there was one scene where he's just sitting on Yugo's head, like a little hat.
I love the reveal that there's so many more too.
Yeah, me too. Worker candy
just a
corn
little guy. I think I saw Kelly Knox do a DIY that's on StarWars.com.
Oh, I have to go look that up. I missed it. I just keep coming back to those little guys. They're super cute.
So cute. Okay, let's talk about the theme of morality and choices in past, which I think is the number one theme of Star Wars. But I think Visions plays into sort of the obvious in a lot of ways around light and dark, but then also and talks about the balance of having both within you in a super obvious way that I find so refreshing. Yeah. I felt that way in the Duel Payback. I felt that way in The Lost Ones. So I don't know where to start here, and also I think the Bounty Hunter episode also played with light and dark too in a way that was so surprising. I think you were just talking about this really around the dark side, light side droid.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about that before, but that is so, I think that does exist, right? Like we've seen that before. We had droids to be programmed for the dark side or helping the Empire or anything like that, and then droids programmed to help the light side as well. So it was so interesting to have both there. I found that episode personally very overstimulating, to be honest. But I thought the concept was really cool. And I did feel like while we talk a lot about, the Jedi and the Sith, and, in the Duel, it's the former Sith, now Sith Hunter. I think that's how they refer to him. Visions does such a really great job of exploring the dark and light within and the concept of balance. They do it, this exploration in these animated shorts does it better than anyone in a lot of ways.
I think the perfect kind of summary of that is from the Duel Payback, when our Ronin is fighting the machine man who is a Jedi. But this is probably one of my favorite lines from Visions Volume 3. When the Ronin is fighting back against him, he says, "There is no balance without the light and the dark. The judgment that you are so obsessed with is nothing more than the denial of the other side. You're closer to the darkness than we are." And I think that, I don't know, I just love such great dialogue, such great writing to talk about the balance and the idea that this Jedi, right, if we want to call it this machine man Jedi, if we want to call him that he's actually closer to the dark side with this judgment and obsession of eradicating the Sith and Sith users, even someone like a former Sith, as the Ronin is, that actually pushes him further to the darkness with that extreme viewpoint. And this is, the age-old conversation of balance of you can't have one without the other. That isn't actually balance. And I thought that it's a writing like this that I want to see pulled into our, canon Star Wars more.
Yeah, totally. I think this is a good point, since you're talking about the Duel Payback, for me to talk about some of the notes I took with the director Q&A at the Japan Society in New York City. The main thing that I took away from it, I've already talked about, which is that they made this with Japanese audiences in mind, especially with that final battle. But to your point before about the way that we talk about light and dark and everything, when they were playing with the who the villain would be, they used an opposite version of Anakin as the inspiration. The white armor instead of the black armor. A white armored Vader was the inspiration, and the concept of an Anakin who is like clinging to his Jedi origins, but and has like artificially controlled emotions. And instead of the Darth Vader mask, which is designed to look a certain way, that he's always frowning, always angry, right? This one is the smiling mask to hide the tormented face underneath.
Yeah.
So cool.
And unmoving as well.
Yes. Yeah. It's so creepy, so eerie. And the Vader mask, I think we've grown very accustomed to. Like we've seen, it's a symbol of Star Wars in a lot of ways. But when you remix it this way, you're like, man, yeah, Darth Vader's face is really stuck in forever unhappiness, you know?
And one emotion presenting.
One emotion. Yeah. And so I guess that when Vader turns back to the light side at the end, and Anakin, it's like the face on the outside doesn't reflect what's going on the inside, and that's what makes it so interesting. But it's the same concept here. Since we're here, I just say, so I mentioned that they made this with Japanese audiences in mind, and just the concept of a battle in a natural space. They created this island. It's an artificial island, and it was originally supposed to be with a ton of torii gates. So they were where the boardwalk where the battle takes place with the sea walks underneath. It was all going to be several torii gates. Torii gates are those red gates that are like arches. Decided to not do that and instead have it more on an artificial island and out in the sea in this vulnerable place. The director talked about how it was just a major overlapping of cultures, especially using the Ewoks. The director was obsessed with the horns that the Ewoks use to signal a battle, and how that is something that Japanese soldiers do as well, and how they wanted to incorporate that too. So interesting.
I think that would have been a crazy visual of all the torii gates.
I know.
I would have liked to have seen that too. They do have one in the short, but it's not.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, it's just one. But it was supposed to be like a ton.
Yeah. When you were talking about the mask like hiding, what's actually going on behind, like with Vader and stuff. And, this is perfectly explored with the Machine Man too, because his mask is smiling, his unmoving mask is smiling. But then there's all this rage and darkness that he can't even identify as darkness underneath, because he's so
clinging to the Jedi past.
Yeah. And then that is in turn pushing him to the darkness through this like quest of revenge, basically. Really interesting.
Yeah, super interesting. Also, I think that the visuals, I think it's on the opposite end. In Bounty Hunters, it's very clear when the droid is on the dark side and when the droid is on the light side.
Super obvious.
So we're playing with two polarities here in Visions, and that's what makes it fun.
Yeah. One of the other things I really loved was in The Lost Ones, when, we're talking about morality and choices, and with our Jedi characters, right? We've discussed this a lot on the show about the morality of the Jedi, where it falls short, where it soars, how the Jedi are people that the galaxy wants to look to for help, but then obviously that power can be abused, right? And it can be muddled. And we've seen that through a lot of different story choices. But the Jedi are, first and foremost, they're supposed to be heroes, and they're supposed to be helping people, saving people. That is kind of our first stop when we're thinking about who the Jedi are. And then, like I said, that story gets more complicated when you add layers and stuff onto it. But one of the things in The Lost Ones, F, when she's facing her former master, we've got the refugee ship that they're trying to protect, basically, and her former master is basically trying to get F to join him, and he asks why she would want to save the people on the refugee ship, and F responds, quote, "Saving them, don't be ridiculous. It is by supporting each other that peace can be born." And I loved this quote so much because I loved that F, even though she is this powerful Jedi that has these abilities, she is also, what's the word? Maybe not humble, but realizes that it's not just her alone. This is not a one-way street. Peace is not born by the Jedi coming in and saving the day. It's more complex than that. And it is about supporting each other that peace can be born. It's not just the Jedi. And I thought that was such like a lovely sentiment, honestly. And
Agree.
there was another quote too. Hold on, let me find it. Oh, from Ninth Jedi, where I think it's Tito who asks, "Why do people need to fight wars?" And Kara responds, quote, "The galaxy is engulfed in fear and anger right now. That's why no matter what happens, we must lend a helping hand to anyone in need. As long as we do that, then we will be taking those first steps to guide the galaxy towards the path of good." And there's nothing in there about being a Jedi. That's something anyone can do, of reaching out a hand to help somebody. And by supporting each other, that's where peace can be found. And I don't know, I really liked like I said, I really liked those sentiments, and that it's not all on the Jedi. It's not all on the Sith about bringing evil into the world. Those things, those circumstances where people like the Jedi and the Sith and dictators come into power are born out of a lot going on at once in the galaxy, and people like Emperor Palpatine taking advantage of all of that and of chaos to sow discord.
Yeah, I think that brings us to our next theme that I wanted to make sure that we talked about, is the theme of violence and the cost of war. I think Black is, we've already talked about it visually, but it is such a mature exploration of the cost of war, violence. It really is more of a tone poem than anything around sacrifice. And I don't know, what did you take from it?
I don't even know. Honestly, it's one I feel like I need to rewatch like 4 or 5 times to have a good discussion on, which is probably bad coming onto my podcast to talk about it. But I think the first thing when I was first watching it, there's a grotesqueness to it, which I think feeds into the violence aspect of war. There's also a humanity side to it too, of seeing behind the masks of these stormtroopers at the same time while we're seeing their masks, of even the moments when they're reaching towards each other is an act of violence, but also of connection too. Like sometimes I wasn't sure what was going to happen when they were reaching their hands out to each other, as it appears like the ship is falling apart, like wherever they are, but then also seeing like there's that point in the middle where the stormtrooper is with a girlfriend, a lover, that is really a human moment, but it is all overwhelmed by the violence. And I think the pace of the short too really emphasizes that, how it's all gas, as we've been talking about in our Clone Wars.
It's breakneck.
Yeah, that's the word. It's breakneck.
Yeah.
And it's all speeding towards destruction. And I think you kind of leave it with a feeling of, what was all this for? And I think perhaps that's what the characters are feeling too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that it's fascinating that you call upon this too, that in between the explosion of the Death Star, this like violence, this seeing the helmet sort of wear away and sort of this zombie appearance showing that there's these moments of humanity lying in the grass, looking at the flowers, and like you said, like this connection. But you're right. What is it all for? And I think that it really, I don't know, it plays into the concept of, I don't know. I think that there's been a lot of discussion about like, is Star Wars an anti-war movie? And I think it can be. I don't know if it's the strongest example, but I think it can be. And this one to me feels very anti-war. It feels very, I find this so mature. And I'm with you. Like, I want to rewatch it a ton of times, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to take away anything more emotive from the fifth viewing than I did from the first and second viewing, honestly, because I feel like it is so it's so like image driven.
It's very abstract.
It is. It's so abstract. You're right. Yeah.
But it's like that. It's abstract, but at the same time, it's all these visuals that we recognize with
familiar.
The Death Star. So I think that sometimes I feel like that abstract label doesn't really fit because it is still within Star Wars. So a lot of it visually is familiar, like you said, but it is abstract in kind of the timeline that it goes through, the way that it cycles through these almost like flashes of their life, seeing your life flash before your eyes in like a non-linear way that I'm sure it does. And then the music over top is
exactly. The jazz, and what is jazz if not chaos and like
and
order within
itself,
chaos and abstract. Yes. Yeah. That's what I was itching to talk about is the music. And I mean, what a choice.
Yeah.
It's so eerie in a lot of ways too.
I think when I was watching it the first couple minutes, the music kind of felt like this is like a poor analogy, but just run with me. It makes sense in my brain at least. You know those memes on TikTok where it's like someone is coming to rob me, but this is what I'm listening to in my headphones, and it's like something like totally tonally very different than what's happening in real life or something like that. And it was almost like these stormtroopers are, they're part of the war machine, cogs in the war machine of war and all of that. But then, this is like their everyday, their jobs. Like, what are they listening to? They're just going about their daily business and maybe they're listening to jazz. But it's like that juxtaposition of what they're being forced to do with their, I don't know, like their internal psyche as well, maybe. But then the freneticness, the frenzy of the way that this story is told really lends itself to jazz, like we were talking about, with how abstract it is and how organic jazz music can be, like created in the moment while it's being performed and stuff like that. It goes.
Totally. And I think that I understand what you mean, that it's just tonally a little different, but I think that what our emotions that we're supposed to play with is, what does jazz represent, right? Jazz represents chaos, but like musicality within the chaos, and then also freedom. I think that's like a big part of the jazz music movement, right?
Skill.
So freedom. What is freedom then if you're a stormtrooper? So it is juxtaposing so much of that, right? And if you're fighting for the wrong side, as the stormtroopers are, hoping for some sort of freedom or whatever you would define that, it's just fruitless. And so then that becomes depressing and chaotic and violent. And I honestly think that's what Black is going for with us.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so. It's definitely one I want to watch more. But like you said, it's like, I think that I don't know if the opinions or the thoughts will come back differently necessarily. And I don't know if it's supposed to. I think it is supposed to be all an emotive response in a lot of ways. I don't think we're necessarily supposed to come away thinking about the story beats and the Star Wars of it all in a weird way. I think it is supposed to be an emotional response to these people stuck in entrapped, like you said, that there isn't the freedom there.
Yeah. Yeah. What else in this theme?
I mean, I think we've kind of talked a little bit already about the cost of war with like the destruction of these planets and their natural resources. I think that's built into this kind of larger theme as well. With the Lost one you had included in our notes about, F having to confront the past with her former master. And, what does that really say about these cycles of renewal and death, acceptance of death? And that also goes back to the theme of nature and destruction. And the fact that she's in this like field of poppies, very natural, but in an unnatural setting, they shouldn't be there, just like her master shouldn't be there because he died. She was there when it happened. And her having to make the choice between, going back with her master, which probably there's a part of her that wants to do that, but knowing that it's not, that's not actually her master anymore.
Yeah, the symbol of poppies too, we should probably linger on for a second, because poppies were the symbol of World War I, right? And I think that in a lot of ways, they make me think of number one, Wizard of Oz, because they put people to sleep. So sleeping, peace,
Death.
and then also death. Yeah, death. And so I think all of that is in conversation here around what is when F has to accept death, a natural order, because her master is back from a natural means, and F is really sliced up in a very violent way, right? And she's left there to die. I mean, I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of ways, like she should die there, but then she isn't, because she's saved by that community that you were mentioning before. But I think that she does accept death in that sense, unlike her master, who clearly could not accept death.
Right. And we have no idea, right? He doesn't talk about how he got brought back.
No.
So we have no idea the means of which he was brought
But I
back
have to
life.
assume it's unnatural because of just the disposition.
Definitely. But my question is if he had a choice in it or not.
Or
I think that's the more interesting question.
True.
Yeah. So kind of like a mini theme that I wanted to point out is the idea of sight as, one of the five senses. We probably could have talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about the Duel, but again, just so clear the concept of like the light and dark and how that line can be blurred when we're talking about balance with the Duel, when the machine man loses his ability to see and he's looking at the two lightsabers that have rolled near him and he can't see which is which color, but he ends up picking up the red lightsaber, and how that just speaks to what the Ronin was telling him about, you're closer to the darkness than we are. And it's kind of like him picking up the red lightsaber. That's actually who he is in the end. And I thought that was a great symbolism of everything that they were talking about with the Sith, the Jedi, the former Sith, and all of that. And then also in Bird of Paradise, obviously, we haven't really talked a lot about this one, even though I love it, but the loss of her sight and guiding her through this experience, the toad, the frog, of guiding her through this experience to find balance in the Force, this version of the world that she can see juxtaposed with the one that she can't. Of course, I think as Star Wars fans, we're thinking of a character like Kanan and how he went through his own journey with his loss of sight and becoming blind and seeing through the Force. And that's what happens in this short too. And visually, it was stunning, and
agreed.
It worked really well.
Yeah, I loved the way that one was formatted too. I thought it was so interesting. In a lot of ways, one complaint I will have is I thought it felt a little obvious, but I also think that's okay, but what a beautiful piece of animation.
Yeah, I loved this one. I loved all of the different days. And I will say, I guess, like kind of talking about this one specifically, I almost thought that she should have actually died at the end. But the more that I think about it now, I'm not entirely convinced that she didn't, maybe. Like, I think you could interpret the short that way. But I was really glad, though, that if she was living, you can see at the end that she has a new view of the world. Like the colors that she sees is very different. So I think you can also interpret if she's actually seeing it through her, bodily eyes or through the Force, that is different. And then I was really glad she wasn't reunited with her master in the end too. That really spoke as well to her character journey and of learning to accept herself. We should have talked about this one when we're talking about the light and dark too, because I mean, she has a whole battle with her shadow self about, I have some of the quotes here. She says, one of the ones that I loved that she said, it was in day 4, day of idleness. And she says in the beginning, stomach rumbling, always wanting for more, only to be told no. And obviously she's talking about hunger there, but I think the clear connection is about power and, selfishness of wanting to be more powerful, more skilled, more capable than she is. And that really reminded me of Yoda's line to Luke of, always looking to the horizon, never in the present.
Focused
like,
on,
yeah. I thought just like her as this kind of indignant Padawan, it was sold really well to me. Like at the one point when she sees her master and it's like an illusion when he visits her like in the Force world, and she says, "Don't lecture me. I need something I can actually use." I thought that was funny. And, she's like so stubborn, and she talks about like, why haven't you found me already? I can't see anything. It's not fair. It's like such a juvenile, immature
totally
place. And then I think you really see her kind of come to terms with her reality. And when she finally faces her shadow self, when she realizes that's who it is that she's facing, it's not the Sith that she fought in the real world. She says, quote, "The Jedi taught me their ways, but I never truly believed them. I was bound by my own desires. My selfishness always found a way to put them first. Anything I feared became my foe. I was flailing in a web of my own design. Now I see the two of us were never foes to begin with." And then while her fear, the embodiment of her fear, her shadow self dies, she tells her fear that she'll always be with her because it is her. And I mean, just great. The message I think is really great. When we're talking about light and dark, one like the Duel really I think shows it on kind of that macro level. And then, this one, Bird of Paradise, really shows it on the personal level, which is what we talk about a lot with Star Wars and the selfishness. Obviously, they use the word selfish a lot in this, in Bird of Paradise. So yeah, a really personal story, I think, of that selfishness.
Yeah. I mean, we're focused on essentially one character the whole time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah. I couldn't say anything better than you just said. So, any other themes that we need to cover?
I don't think so. I think we need to talk about our fave thing.
Yeah, let's do
part 3.
Yeah. Okay, let's go for it.
Listen, big deal. You got another problem. Women always figure out the truth. Always.
All right, welcome to part 3, which is called Breadth of Play. Now, if you've been following Sky Talkers, you know that this is actually the setup we've used for all of our Visions discussions. And if you've been following Sky Talkers, you might know where the term breadth of play comes from. But if you're new here, newish, I'll give you a quick summary. Basically, a long time ago, Charlotte and I got the chance to interview some of the makers of the Lego Star Wars films. And in one of them, we were asking, what makes Lego so special, a question like that. And I think it was the director or the writer. They talked about this term breadth of play and how Lego has such a breadth of play. It allows you to be really creative and fun. And Charlotte and I really took that, ran with it. We love that term and we love using it in Star Wars. And it really applies to like openness, lack of restriction, being able to play in the world of Star Wars. And nowhere is that really solidified than Lego, yes, but also in Visions. And breadth of play just really encapsulates, I think, what this corner of the franchise really excels at.
Exactly. Breadth of play is everything
It
to
really
us.
is.
And that's why breadth of play is why Visions is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Totally.
Okay. Usually we have a lot of thoughts on the order choices of the way that it is put together. But I think we had talked about that a little bit, about the jump from the Duel Payback to the Song of, oh my gosh.
I messed you up.
Song of Four. Yeah, you did. The Song of Four Winds.
No, Song of Four Wings.
Yeah. Right. Song of Four Wings. Do we have any other thoughts about the jump? I think Mostly, I think it's interesting that Bird of Paradise and Black end the series. And ending on Black is like a reward for people who get to the end. It's like made for people to watch it all. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, if you're someone if you're the type of Star Wars fan who's gonna watch all of this, then you're the type of Star Wars fan that's ready to accept something like Black.
yeah, I'm realizing in the press release they call Black a psychedelic battle between the past and present, light and dark, and life and death that play out in the haunted psyche of an Imperial trooper who is on the cusp of defeat. The psychedelic battle.
Psychedelic. It's true.
Psychedelic battle is so Breath of Play. But yeah, you're so right. Like when you get to the end, it's Black is like the exclamation point on the end of
exactly
the entire series. But and I feel that way also about Bird of Paradise, is that individual exploration is unique. And we get to the end after you were just comparing it to the Duel Payback. Like we start with like a wider scale exploration of dark and light. And then we end with Bird of Paradise and Black as deeper explorations of these concepts.
Yeah, it's interesting too to think about the first two of this volume being the Duel and then Song of Four Wings, like we were talking about earlier, of the color juxtaposition, which is always going to happen with the Duel into whatever it goes into, because the Duel is black and white and like pops of red and green, right? But then like the music as well is tonally very different than anything in the Duel. But then with Bird of Paradise and then into Black at the end, Bird of Paradise is our most structured story within volume 3 of, quite literally having chapters defined as days. It's a very clear kind of order of operations of what's going on, even as we're kind of, on the astral plane and in the Force world, which is very abstract too. But there's a structure to it, a very defined structure. To then go into Black, which is obviously all abstract, no structure, it's very different too.
Definitely.
All right. Do we want to go over our top 3 from this volume, which you put the notes in first, and I'm really excited because we actually have pretty different answers for this one.
Yeah.
And usually we're kind of on the same page about these things.
Yeah. Okay. I think my favorite was The Ninth Jedi, Child of Hope. I think I really loved the ending, and Tato really captured my heart. And his selflessness of being so thankful to Kara for moving the statue, Kara being distraught that they were too late to get to the master who was in Bacta for so long has died. But Tato is thankful regardless for that time to have that ending. And then the sacrifice that Tato gives to Kara at the end. Wow, the emotions were so real. It made me so excited for the fact that now The Ninth Jedi is going to get a series or movie. I actually am unclear now that I say that out loud. But regardless, we're going to get more Ninth Jedi in stories. So I'm really excited about that. I didn't know if I could like The Ninth Jedi as a sequel. I was a little nervous around that because that first idea in volume 1 was so creative and cool. But of course, a little guy in the little droid saves everything. So I really loved that one. My second favorite was Black. I was just so overwhelmed by it, and for all the reasons that we've talked about. And then Yuko's Treasure. I loved Yuko's Treasure. I loved the simplicity of it. I loved the Tatooine backgrounds. I loved the design that feels so Japanese. It was so unique, and I loved it. And I also really, really love the Ewoks in the Duel Payback. Like that is a high for me. It could be my number 1, to be honest. I love the Ewoks so much. When they appeared, I was so overwhelmed with how much I loved them.
Yeah.
I also love the little guy in the Song of Four Wings too, and I love the music, but those didn't crack the top 3 for me. If they would on an individual sense in terms of character. But yeah, those are my top 3. What are yours?
Mine, where we do cross over, mine is The Ninth Jedi for a lot of the reasons that you said. Tito has my heart, and the whole thing was just, just worked on every level for me. And one thing we didn't talk about when we were talking about the droid and human relationship, which this actually kind of almost broke me, even though I was already crying at the end of Ninth Jedi, is when Kara's back with the other Jedi on the ship and they all leave to like give her a minute, but there's that one droid that's still there who basically is like, do you need a hug? And like offers a hug to her because he can see how upset she is. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
That was so emotional, so cute. Yeah, I'm really excited. And I as soon as Tito was introduced, I was like, he's really giving me Toto vibes of Cad Bane's droid.
Yeah.
And I was like, even the voice is kind of similar. And Freddie Highmore is the voice of Tito in Ninth Jedi. And I was like, this totally tracks with like the way that Seth Green plays Toto. It's very similar to me. So anyway, I loved Ninth Jedi. It does make me really excited for what is next. My next favorite was The Lost Ones. This one felt really sweeping to me, like starting on the planet with Carbonite and then going to the refugee ship. And like, I love the way that F talked about the Force with the kids that were on that ship when they were all asking her, you know, is the Force real? And she doesn't tell them yes and no. She says, you're going to have to, you know, study and observe the world and decide for yourself if you think the Force is real and, you know, what someone like me can do, if that's good or bad or things like that. And like I said, I also really like the way she talked about it's not about her saving them. It's about supporting and helping each other when they can. And that's played out in the story when Ron helps her. You know, he saves her just like she saves them. And I really love that story. Do I ship F and Ron? I do. You better believe I do. And, you know, if we happen to get more, whatever, I'm happy about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to say, I was surprised. I really liked this one too. Okay.
Yeah.
I liked all of them. There wasn't one that I was like, no.
Yeah.
Maybe the Bounty Hunter one. But the one, I really loved this. And I think it's surprising that it didn't crack my top 3 just because I was so obsessed with The Village Bride in Volume 1.
Right.
And,
yeah.
But I think I liked the natural elements that were going on in The Village Bride more than the Lost Ones. But I think that there were same reflections.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
My last favorite was Bird of Paradise. We've already kind of talked at length about it, but I loved this one. I kind of knew from the first visuals we saw at Celebration that this would be a big one for me. And it was in fact a big one. And one of my other favorite moments from that one is her little toad Force guide and how he just like pops as a bubble later. Like once he's given her his advice, he just pops. Thought it was a great moment. I also liked how she like asks the statue for help, and there's clearly something mystical about the statue. That's really what kind of pulls her into this, the Force world, the astral plane, whatever we want to call it. Just really loved that one. I love Black so much too, just gotta say. But the storytelling in these other ones just really stole it for me. But yeah, I thought it was great. Also, I wanted to say about Bird of Paradise, like that easily could have been a version of Yoda's final arc in the Clone Wars. It was very similar
100%.
Concepts and ideas, I think, and like what they're wanting the character to go through, really. So, love Visions.
Visions is so good. One thing I want to say is that when we talk about Black ending this volume, it reminded me, and I just remembered this, that Akakiri ended Volume 1. And Akakiri is also so dark and also controversial. Like I remember the fan reaction to that, and because we also got screeners for Volume 1, that the fan reaction to Akakiri was a little negative, and I remember being confused by that.
Yeah, that was one of our favorites from Volume 1.
And Black, I've seen some people rate it low, but then at the same time, it's going viral on Twitter right now.
Yeah.
In a huge way, which is really cool, but in a positive way.
Yeah.
So, but I think that putting the controversial one or the darkest one at the end is a theme. It didn't happen for Volume 2, but maybe it is for the Japanese animation studios.
What ended? Our Song ended. Volume 2. Yeah. That one's not dark.
Yeah. No, it's not. It's bright and light and happy. Okay. What do we want to happen next for Visions? Is there going to be a volume 4? We know that there's going to be more Ninth Jedi,
Yeah.
which is exciting, super exciting. But what do we want for volume 4?
I think we need to at least do one more volume and make it global studios again. I think that sets a really nice pattern. As we say, it would be nice to put it back on the shelf with 2 like totally Japanese volumes and then 2 international volumes. Just flows really nicely. I really hope that they have at least one more volume in the pipeline.
I agree. Is the remixing still a novel concept for Star Wars as a brand right now? What do you think?
I think so.
I think so too.
And I think
so too.
Definitely with the international studios, because like I said, it's so clear that you're coming back into all Japanese animation. And I mean that positively, but it is all anime style for the most part. You know what I mean? Whereas visually, volume 2 is just so varied. I think that like if they were to do another volume with Japanese animation studios in total again, I don't want to say it wouldn't work because I think there's like an endless well of creativity, right, at these studios. But I think if they're going to do another one, it's got to go back to the international studios to like up the ante again and to like visually set it apart in a different way than the Japanese animation studios.
I agree. I think that it would be nice to do
Mm-hmm.
another volume with international studios.
Yeah,
again.
I agree.
Okay, Star Wars Visions Volume 3. Good. We love.
We love.
We love. I don't know. Is there anything else we want to say about it? Because I mean, it's just so great. What a joy. We're so lucky to have this project. It is the Star Wars Visions project is both the most interesting thing that Star Wars does and also potentially the most interesting thing that's on Disney Plus.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, like I feel like I find this hard to describe, as I said before, to people. But once you're in and are able to watch it, I mean, there is nothing cooler than different animated takes on Star Wars that have different themes, that have different morals, and are just a bunch of cool short films. Like, are you kidding me? It's the coolest concept ever.
It's so great. And like I said, we need at least one more volume. So
yeah, we do.
Lucasfilm, hear our cry.
Yes, we want it. We love it.
We're here. And, I'm very excited for what will come next with Ninth Jedi, too. So
Same.
Very excited to see that as well. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap up this week's episode all about Star Wars Visions Volume 3. Last time you have to hear me say that. We would love to know what you thought. Which one was your favorite? How did you feel about Black when you first saw it? We would love to know. You can let us know on Twitter at SkyTalkersPod or our personal handles. Charlotte's is at Crarity and mine is at Caitlin Plesher. We also have our TikTok and our Instagram, our website, skytalkers.com, and our Facebook. I don't think I said that yet. Our Facebook. Those are all good places to find us. And if you have a couple seconds and would like to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we would so appreciate it as it helps other people find our show. And if you're interested in other ways to support us, you can head on over to our Patreon and check out our reward tiers there.
I want to say a huge thank you to these patrons: Sarah, Logan, Kelly, Josh, Tom, Ella, Danian, Tom, Z, Paul, Derek, Kelly, Neil, Fifi, Nanami, Sarah, Adam, Chuck, Fiopio, Sindel, Jenny, Brooke, and Isaac. Thank you so much for supporting us.
Yes, thank you guys so much. And until next time, may the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
This has been a 58 Ember production. For more shows, please visit the 58 Ember channel, 58ember.com, or find us at 58 Ember Media on socials.